Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. This one hopefully turns out alright. I had some mic issues. If you follow me on Twitter, this video has been a journey to put out. I'm sorry it's been so long. There's been IRL stuff and technical stuff and just everything against getting a video out. But at the end, I wanted to put a little something in there talking about some of the stuff we might do for the Discord. So if you get bored, skip to the end. Otherwise, at the end, we'll talk about it. So this video, I wanted to relate the hacker's mindset to beginners. I get a lot of people that seem to be struggling with either motivation or kind of like where to turn or what to do. And I also see a lot of people talking about the hacker's mindset and how it helps them hack and that kind of stuff. But there's some stuff in there that I think kind of separate the hacker's mindset of the way other people explain it and kind of what beginners are looking for. So hopefully this will bridge the gap. So let's get started. So in my mind, there are two main pieces to the attitude behind hacker's mindset. The first one is tenacity. I love the image that I put with this, which is why it's there, because in my mind, tenacity and just overall persistence are two kind of different things. So if you'll notice in the image on the left, there's persistence, which is an implement, check, and repeat loop of just trying something over and over and over and being persistent. Not saying it's a bad thing, but there's just a better approach. Doing something over and over and hoping for different results in hacking is normally not the right take, whether it's spamming nuclei scans or spamming XSS payloads or whatever it may be. Tenacity, on the other hand, which is on the right of that image, I think is a lot better, which is implement, analyze, and then adjust. I think that image is a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say tenacity. So sticking with something, whether it's something worked or failed or didn't work how you wanted it to go, and analyzing what happened, why you did what you did, and how you might do it differently or better, and then doing it again and sticking with it. And I think you'll see, just like in the image, that you get a little bit more of that upward curve. And that's why I think that's important to the hacker's mindset, because the continuous progress is important, and we're going to talk about that later. But on the right, you see curiosity, and again, hacking being a huge platform for continuous learning and continuous curiosity and changing constantly. Curiosity is an important thing. The graph, again, I added this image because I like it. The graph is curiosity on the top and knowledge on the bottom, and this is exactly what it is like in the cybersecurity community. The second you lose curiosity, the second you think your learning has ended and you know everything, or you just aren't as interested, your knowledge also drops because new stuff is coming out constantly, new techniques, new attack surface, all that kind of stuff. So staying curious and constantly learning is a really important thing. Now I kind of want to go over what that actually looks like in practice, not just kind of theoretical. So I always recommend starting at the beginning. And what I mean by that is not assuming that your knowledge is enough until you actually know everything about what you're looking into or what you're hacking or what you're trying to work with from the bottom up. A good example of that would be web stacks, headers, protocols, stuff like that. You see all these different headers in Burp Suite. Do you actually know what they're all doing? CSP headers, CORS headers, stuff like that. Do you actually know what they mean for you, what they mean for future attacks or certain attacks you might be trying to carry out? Certain web stacks, do you actually know what that means and how they could help you or deter you, all the way down to a protocol level, right? So if you're trying to do DNS enumeration, or you're trying to find subdomain takeovers, or you're trying to do something like that, do you actually know how the DNS protocol works and how you can utilize it to help you find takeovers and help you do subdomain enumeration or reverse lookups, anything like that? So that's kind of why that picture is there. I just threw it on there. But actually going what you're trying to hack, HTTP, web, DNS, all that kind of stuff, and actually knowing how that stuff all works, bare bones, not just, I send a GET request and something comes back. Like, what do all the headers mean? What do all the status codes mean? Stuff like that. So what I would recommend starting with that in mind, is kind of twofold. One is the technology piece, and one is the tool piece. So in the technologies, it's exactly what we were talking about. If you're going to do web, great. learn how web requests work, learn how web headers work, learn different web stacks, learn different web frameworks, why there's popular stacks versus unpopular stacks, what frameworks are popular and why, how people use them, and then maybe dive into the security aspects of each one. How do certain web frameworks secure themselves against cross-site scripting or against authentication bypass and stuff like that? Another example could be mobile. Don't just learn all the tools to do mobile, actually learn what the Android or iOS ecosystem is, like why they use the languages they use, how they compile them, how they decompile them, how you can reverse engineer it, why you would want to, all that kind of stuff, where stuff is stored, etc. And then on the flip side, you have tools, and there's all these popular tools that people use for recon or scanning or all this kind of stuff. Knowing what the tool is doing exactly and why it's doing that is key to actually using the tool properly, and not only using the tool properly, because a lot of these tools, CLI tools and whatever, are very straightforward and have very good documentation. So it's not just using the tool properly, but if you know why you're using the tool and how it's working, somehow you also end up knowing what to do with the results. So you don't run a bunch of enumeration and run a bunch of recon and then have a bunch of results that you don't really know what to do with. Like, okay, what do I do now? I have all these subdomains, I have all these paths, I have status codes, I have HTTP titles, but you actually know why you got them, so you know what to do with them, because otherwise you wouldn't have tried to get them in the first place and tried to enumerate subdomains or whatever it may be. Same thing with scanning. Maybe you're making your own nuclei templates because you actually know what you want to look for, or you're actually fuzzing for a certain reason and not just using the same list against every application and just fuzzing the world off without really knowing why you're doing it. After you get the basics and you really start to learn why you're doing stuff and what you're doing stuff on as far as technologies, then the next step is learning from the past and learning by doing. So learning from the past is very similar to, let's just say, running a marathon. Someone who's going to train to run a marathon is going to train in a similar way to people who have done it before. They're going to look at how people have done it before. You're going to go to Google and say, how do I train to run a marathon? And someone on Google who knows way more about running a marathon than you do at the time is going to tell you how to get started, and you're going to learn from there. Learning how people train to run long distance in the past is how you're going to do it. You're not just going to start from scratch and say, well, I don't know anything about this, but let's just do it. Right? Because there's already more efficient ways to do it. There's already more knowledge out there on how people have done it in the past, so why wouldn't you utilize it? And it's the same thing with hacking. There's reports, there's write-ups, there's blogs, there's informational videos. All this information is out there now that wasn't there before for you to take advantage of, to look at how people have done this in the past and then connect it to how you may be able to use this in the future, because that's also key. And then the second thing is learning by doing. So the hacker's mindset only goes so far until you take the mindset and put your hands on the keyboard, right? I do recommend starting with Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Portswigger, but as the second bullet there states, that only goes so far. Once you're comfortable with being able to look at like a Bugcrowd VRT, or you're comfortable with all the exploits on Portswigger to at least, an easier intermediate level, and you start getting through some of those easy hack the boxes and stuff like that without looking at solutions, I would very quickly move on to either VDPs or like low populated bug bounty programs or bug bounty programs you're interested in, and just start hacking. That's the number one way to do it. That's how everyone else has done it. Once you actually know what you're doing and you have the mindset and the base of knowing what you're hacking, knowing why you're doing what you're doing, and you have a little bit of practice, which is what some of those platforms in Bullet 1 are for, I would move on to the actual meat and potatoes of it as quickly as possible and just dive in, because you're ready. Even if you don't think you're ready, you're ready. And the tenacity part we talked about earlier is what applies here, right? This is where you do something because you know why you're doing it. You're going to be able to analyze your results and then continue on implementing different results from there based on success, failure, and all that kind of stuff, right? So the tenacity piece we talked about earlier perfectly plugs in here. It has been curiosity up to this point on learning how things work and learning how technologies and tools that you're going to be using work, learning how people did it in the past, and now the tenacity takes over by just putting your hands on your keyboard and putting hours in hacking. Which brings me into the last thing I want to talk about, and then we'll wrap this up, which is the actual goals that you should have of the hacker mindset, right? You shouldn't, the goals of your hacker mindset, I'm going to tell you right now, should not be money or fame or street cred or anything like that, okay? The whole point of the hacker mindset is getting you in a process of learning and improvement to get you to achieve your goals. If your goals are just to make money, but you don't really enjoy the process, like that bottom bullet says, you're not going to last, and this just isn't for you. I'll just be honest with you right now. But if you can find a way to enjoy the process of learning and hack on platforms that you enjoy and hack on programs that you enjoy, on technologies that you are learning about and like learning about, you'll find that you're in a state of constant improvement against yourself, being better than you were yesterday. If you hack for 5 hours and don't find a bug, but you learned more than you did yesterday, there will still be that part of you that knows that you improved and enjoyed it. Whether that's gamifying your process of hacking or having fun and collaborating with others or whatever it may be, if you're understanding why you're doing what you're doing, which is what the second bullet point says, and you're actually diving in depths in targets and using your knowledge to toy around and actually get past things, right? If you know a target uses authentication to block certain things and you're trying to bypass that, great. You're actually doing something with your knowledge. But enjoying the process of doing that, analyzing your results and continuously implementing better plans to constantly improve is how you can take the hacker mindset as a beginner and use it to actually improve in the field and actually enjoy doing it as well. So that's all I really had for this. I wanted to talk about the Discord channel for a moment because I've had a Discord channel for a while. It's on my Twitter, and I normally put it in the description of most of the videos. But we haven't been doing much with it. We've been having a few conversations, and we've answered some questions and stuff like that, and there's some really great people in there already. But I will probably be putting a form in there very soon, and I would like to try and get something going where we can maybe get a few small teams of people going and maybe get some collaboration and pick a target, maybe compete against each other and try and find some bugs and have our own little mini internal tournament in the Discord. And maybe, we'll try and get some rewards for people that win and stuff like that. And maybe see if we can turn it into something that will, again, get beginners that want to implement this hacking mindset and get them into a community where we can actually welcome new hackers and get them with people who can get them hacking and learn together and that kind of stuff. So if you're not in the Discord, join, say hi, and the form should be in there soon. If you're in the Discord already, you are one of my favorite people, and I love you. So that's all I have. Get in the Discord. The form should be coming, a day or two after I post this. And other than that, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.